Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from where you are joining us from. So welcome to this session for today. It's ArcGIS Storymaps. So we are going to go through the process of developing story maps to tell our narratives to the users. So I would like to request for your maximum cooperation and participation and attention during this session. My name is Isaac Padamula, Geospatial Systems Developer at RCMRD. So a story map is simply a narrative of what you are telling within a GIS environment, and you are going to, it's like an advocacy sort of presentation. So instead of making normal PPT presentation, you can always, and you can create a story map to communicate what you want to tell in a GIS environment. So today we are going to use a set of tools, and that's from ESRI. They have a platform where you can be able to create story maps and be able to share, so that you publish a ready-to-use map and applications that are available as part of the ArcGIS. So this mapping platform enables you to create interactive story map with graphic organizers, which helps you to learn the elements of a narrative, and you are able to identify some key insights and also information from the stories. So first of all, I'll take you through on how you can be able to access the story map platform. So allow me to share my screen. Before you create your story map, you must be signed in into your ArcGIS account, and we shared all these accounts to our users. So what you are requested to do is that you are supposed to sign in. So let me sign out. So the process is the same. You go to the URL that we shared with you, and then it will direct you to our landing page. Welcome to RCMRD ArcGIS training platform. This is the platform we are going to use, and you have your own credentials. Click on sign in, then input your username, and if you want to be kept signed in, you can still click on keep me signed in. But if you don't want to be kept signed in due to security issues, you can uncheck the checkbox. You click sign in. So once you're signed in, you go to a section called content. So everything that you design or you develop or you create in ArcGIS platform, they are normally under the content tab. So you'll go to my content, and then you'll see what you've already created within your account. For our case, I'll go to my folder. Remember in our previous class, you were supposed to create your working folder. So I'll click on application of GIS in conservation. That's my specific folder, and then I'll find some 2 items listed here. So today we are going to add the 3rd item, which we are calling the story map. So I have the RCOE PCA web map, and then I have conserved area dashboard. Now my next step, I'll go to create application. So we have new item, we have create app. If you're wondering how I arrived at this folder, you can create it through this icon called create folder. So you can always create your own folder to organize your work, so that you don't lose track of your items. So back to our point, I'll click on create application, and then I'll have a list of applications listed here. We have the instant apps, experience builder, ArcGIS story map dashboards, web app builder, and then urban, and then GeoBeam. So for our case today, we are going to use the ArcGIS story maps option. So I'll click on ArcGIS story map. Then it will launch a story builder. These are the platform that you're going to use to create our story. Now, before you create a story or you have a story map within your ArcGIS environment, you must have a document or a narrative that you've already designed, either in Word or an online document. So you must have your narrative already done so that it will be a matter of copying and pasting within your story map. So on your upper side, we have draft. So before you publish your story map, it's normally known as a draft until you share or publish it to the users. And then you have this one, this icon is to go back to your stories. So if you have like 10 stories, you can be able to go back to all your stories using this icon. This one is to undo in case you made something and you want to go back. You can still undo, and then you have the redo going forward like a given number of times, and then if once you save, it will be showing you that the story map has been saved. When you come to the right, you have the design. So the design allows you to choose your template, so you'll be able to choose your right template on which you are going to develop your story map. And then the insights, it just tells you more about your story map. So we'll be using this as we move on, and then preview is just to see how your story map will appear once you publish it. And then lastly, we have the publish, which now gives you the publish option, whereby you can now be able to make your map or your story map visible to the public and be able to be used. On the ellipses, we have the more icons, the more items. You can add your story map to your favorites. You can print your story map, and then you can have the story settings. You can duplicate your story. You can save your story as a template. Saving your story as a template means when you need to create another story, you can start from somewhere. You have a template from where you pick your creation of a story map. And then lastly, you can delete your story map. And then if you need some help, you click on this question mark. You'll be able to get all the documentation about a story map. And then lastly, you have the user profile here. So if you need to know more about yourself, you can click on the logo. So now I'll go direct to our story map today. So I've picked one of the protected areas, and it's Nairobi National Park. So we need to go through Nairobi National Park. We tell you what it is, where is it located, the entry fee, where you can be accommodated when you visit Nairobi National Park, and how you can be able to reach Nairobi National Park. So I'll just use the online sources. So on your screen, you have Wikipedia, Nairobi National Park. So we need to translate all this into a story map. So what I said earlier, you must have your narrative already before you start developing your story maps. So for our case, I'll have to develop a story map using the Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia online source. So I'll start. One, you have to assign your story the story title. So my story title will be Nairobi National Park. Nairobi National Park. And then once I have Nairobi National Park, I can be able to give a brief description. So I'll go back. So for our sake, I'll still repeat the procedure. So I'll close this icon here. So I'll go to my ArcGIS account, which I've logged in here. You click on content. So all our items should be arranged in one folder. Or you can have different folders. For example, this one can be for datasets. You create another folder for dashboards, another folder for web maps, and another folder for story maps. So whatever item that you create should be able to be located by another user. So for my case, I'm using application of GIS in conservation. So I'll have to create all my products within that folder. So currently I have two. So I have the dashboard and the web map. So I'm going to add another one, which is a story map. So I'll click on create application and then go to ArcGIS Story Map, where we need to tell a story by combining maps, narrative, text, and media. So I'll click on ArcGIS Story Maps. So it will load the ArcGIS Story Builder platform. Once it loads, we said the first thing you have to do is to specify the title. So the title of my story today is Nairobi National Park. is the protected area that you've chosen. And in your assignment, you'll also be required to create a story map using one of the selected protected or conserved area within your country or any country of your choice. So this is Nairobi National Park. So we want to tell someone what is Nairobi National Park so that they can be able to understand or get more info about our national park. So then you can give a short introduction about your Nairobi National Park. So, but before we do that, you have assigned the title. That's the first thing. The next thing, you have to come and assign a cover image or a video. One thing with story maps, it combines narrative text, it combines maps, and also it allows multimedia. So you're able to combine all those items in one story so that people can be able to understand what you're passing across. So I'll click on design. So when you come to design, it gives you a sneak preview of how your cover page will appear. So if you want it to be minimalized, you can select the minimal. If you want it to be on top, or if you want it to be full, you can always be able to check which is your preferred mode of cover appearance. So for my case, I'll choose full. So, and if I choose full, that's how my cover page will look like. If I choose top, that's how my cover page will look like. If I choose minimal, so it will also adjust depending on my choice of selection. So I'll move with the full cover page. So I have a full coverage of the space having my cover page. And then I'll have to choose a theme. So for example, the default one is Summit. So this is the default theme. So depending on how you want your story map to appear, you choose your preferred theme. Again, you can also browse featured themes gallery or browse your own themes. So if you have your theme already developed, you can always access it within this section. So I'll choose Mesa. So for example, so I'll choose Mesa. Now, once you're done with the choosing of the themes, you can go back to your story map and then you add your cover image. So I'll come here. So I can either add an image or a video, or I can choose a color. So for our case, we don't need colors, we need an image. Color, if you are doing a corporate story map, that's when you could choose a color, but all organizational companies, they also have images. So you can either choose your preferred image as your cover page or as your cover photo. So I'll come and choose image or video. Now, when you go to image or video, these are the supported file formats. Now, here you don't have the liberty to input a link. So linking to media is not supported here. So what you're supposed to do, you're supposed to have your files already in your local machine. So having your file in your local machine is where you can be able to access your media. So since I don't have, and you're using an online platform, I'll just go to my browser and check Nairobi National Park and download some of the images. So I'll go to images. Now, you can choose if you want to display the park itself or the entrance at the gate, you can be able to choose. So what do you want people to see first when they go to your story map? So these are some of the sample images, and ensure you get the high definition images for your story maps or any graphical work. So for our case, let me choose this gate. This is the main gate. When you go to Nairobi National Park, I'll right click. So this is for those who don't have images already in your machine. But we said earlier, before you develop a story map, you must have all your items on your machine arranged well before you start working on it. So I'll save. This is Nairobi National Park, main gate. Click on save. I come back here. I'll browse my files. So you go to your specific folder where you've just saved your work. So it's on GIS for conservation. And then it's called Nairobi National Park main gate. I click open. So that's my image. You can delete and you can also replace. So once I select the cover page, cover photo, I click on add. So give it some time. So that's my cover image. So you can see it's already embedded on my story map as my cover image. So in case you need to replace image, you click on these ellipses. Suppose you have a better image. For example, you don't like the gate as your cover image, you can still get another image and use it as your cover image. So I'll try this one out. So again, from our previous class, make sure whatever background you choose does not obscure legibility of your text or what you want to pass across. So I'll replace it. That's the procedure to replace your image. So if I click on this, I'll have another image as my cover photo. So that's my new cover image. So that's the procedure to replace or delete your cover image. So that's the first step. And then you can give a brief subtitle. So I can say the only park in the city. So you can either add globally or in Africa, so or in the world. So depending on what you want to specify on your subtitle, you can always be able to customize it. So this one's it's you to customize the text or the what you want to pass across. Now from the cover image, you now start telling a story. Before you tell a story, you must have decided what do you want to pass across. So if you go to story elements, so you'll have all these elements being compatible with our story map. So the first thing, the first basic element of a story map is a narrative text. We have a button, we have a separator, we have a code. So if you want to embed your external work within your, we can embed our dashboard within our story map. You can use the section called the code. This is an iframe that you can be able to embed and format so that it forms a snippet of your external work. For data visualization, you can have the map, the chart, infographic, the table, and then on the media, you have the image, 360 image. So this one is in beta, it's still under experiment. So it's something that can be done. And then you have the image gallery. If you have a group of images or a collection of images, then you can be able to have them here as a slideshow. You can have a video, audio, or you can also embed your external work. Swipe. The swipe normally is used when you're comparing two particular items. Let's say you are doing change detection. So you want to see how the park was in 1990 and how it is in 2025. You can use that to show that lapse in timeline. And then timeline, this just, you can have the progression of activities within a specific time frame. Immersive, we have the sidecar. So you are like within the map trying to have a narrative panel so that you can be able to go into your details. And then a map tour. This is it was initially called an express map. An express map, you can be able to create places to explore in order. For example, if you are telling a tourist how to navigate within Nairobi National Park, you can have a tour map so that you start at the gate, then you show them where they'll pay, the location of lions, and where they'll get the water points as you navigate through the park until you go to the lodges. So that's an express map. It's used to show your readers on how they can follow a particular item in that order. That said and done, I'll add the first basic item, which is a text. And this is just a paragraph. You should not, you can have a paragraph or two. Don't make your story too wordy or don't make it under wordy. So have a moderate textual context for your story map. I'll click on text. So for my case, I said I'm using the freely available text. So I'll come and say Nairobi National Park. I pick this Nairobi National Park. So I'm using this because I don't have an already done narrative. So I'll use the external source. I'll come to my story map, click on text, and then paste it here. So I'll have this first section. So in case there are some things you want to delete, you can always come and delete. This is Nairobi National Park. So Nairobi National Park is a national park in Kenya that was established in 1946. So this is a brief description of Nairobi National Park. So now I can add a button so that someone is able to know what I'm talking about. National Park. So buttons will just is just to get the attention of the reader or the user of the story so that they're able to know what you're talking about. Now, once I've added my button, I'll go and check. Do I need to add an image here? To make your story map look good, you can combine text and images. So for my case, I'll come and add an image. So now the images, for the images within the body, you now have the capability to link it to an external image. So make sure the images that you're linking to are not licensable or they are free for use. So if they are not free for use, don't link it here, because if you link them there, you should be able to give credit to the source. So I'll still go and download my image, my free image. So let me take, for example, the zebras. This is Masai Mara, but they are still in Nairobi National Park. So I'll choose this, download, I'll just save it. So this is Nairobi National Park, 700 by 450. I'll browse my file and then select this zebra, then click add. So now, having added my image, I want it to be side by side with my text. So how do I go about? Instead of this image being on top and then text being down, I want to link it to this image. So I'll select the display. So I'll select the display. I can either choose plot right, meaning the image is on the right and the text is on the left. I can choose the image to be on the left and the text to be on the right. Again, I can also choose the small, whereby you have it up and then the text becomes down. So for our case, we agreed we are choosing an image with a combination of the text. And to avoid these overlaps, you make sure your text matches with the image size so that we don't have an image being larger than the text. So I can just cut it here. Let me cut it from here so that we don't have that extension. So you also want to make your story look good. So I make it the same size so that we don't have overlaps and overshoots and undershoots. So I can caption my image. This is zebras, Nairobi. National Park. I can put it here like this, and then source. So if it's not your image, always remember to specify the source. So Wikipedia, or whichever source. I'm just putting Wikipedia as our temporary source, but always remember, put the source. If it's not your image, always make sure you put the source. And you can always link it to your source of that image. I'll right click, copy image address, and then I hyperlink it to the source. So I'll just click here and then add a link so that if someone clicks on that image, they can be able to be directed to where it was before you brought it here. So that's how you can add an image and a text. Now I'm going to add a spacer. A spacer is just a line that will differentiate one section from another section. I click on this icon again and then add a separator. So someone will know that now you're moving from one section to another section. Okay, the next thing I'm going to add a video or a map. So whichever comes first. So remember we said you can add a map to provide spatial data and also to provide spatial context. So if you have any map already in your gallery, you can be able to add it. But if you don't have, you can still add your map tour or an express map that will show someone can move from point A to point B. So I'll move to the next part. So this is history. So we tell a brief history of Nairobi National Park. So I'll just copy the whole of this or a specific part. Since you're not doing the entire history, I'll come and say I want to add text. And then I paste it here. So this will be history. So Nairobi National Park. But if you need to copy the entire history, then you'll have to have it in sections so that this one forms the first part, and then the other part can be a completion of your history. So it's not that we are restricting it to copying specific words. You can still copy the entire history, but always work them in sections. So this is about Nairobi National Park, and then I'll have to accompany it with an image here. So the first image I chose was the zebras. The next image I'm going to choose is the lions or the rhinos. So again, when you're communicating to the user, also make sure you use those animals that are available within the park. Don't go uploading a photo of an elephant, and an elephant is not found within Nairobi National Park. So you'll be misleading the user. What I want to add is the image, sorry. So I'll add an image of my rhino. So I'll come to image, browse, and then add my rhino here. Click add, and then I choose should be on the right. So that means I'll bring my story here, my text here. I'll bring my text here so that it accompanies the image. I'll bring my text here. So what I'll do again, I also want this text to match the size of the image. I'm not cutting it completely. I only want my image to match the size of the text so that we don't have image protruding or text protruding throughout the storytelling process. So that's Nairobi National Park. So I'll bring it here. So we've added 2 images and 2 sections of text. So I'll just come and write Rhino at the Nairobi National Park. So whatever image you're using, make sure you caption it so that the user is able to understand what you're passing across. So this is source. I'll still use the same source. These are demo, so it's not the actual source of that image, but always remember to put your source. So the first arrangement was the image on the left. Now the next one is the image on the right. After adding the image and the text, you can still add a separator so that it shows you're moving to the next section. I'll show you how to add a map. So what I'll do, I'll either choose my map, a web map of the protected areas, or I can still generate a new map, which is a map tour. So for our case, you're going to add both. I'll choose a map. Now, once you click on map, you'll have all the web maps that you have worked on. So I'll choose my first one, which is the web map that we used in our previous class. So all the layers will be set here. You can set the visibility. If you don't want this layer to be visible, you can just click on the eye icon. So for our case, we need all the layers to be visible. So I'll not deactivate these layers. When you go to the bookmarks, so a bookmark is just a simple accessibility shortcut. So if you want to bookmark a specific country or a specific point, you can utilize the option of bookmark. So the bookmark enables you to access a specific section of the map easily. So currently, we don't have any bookmarks. So if you go to settings, you can set your map interactions. So here we have a docked pop-up. So a docked pop-up, let me just demonstrate. If you click here, if you click on a particular point, it will be appearing anyhow. So, but for our case, we need it to appear fixated on a particular point. So docking means we centralize or we unify the position of our pop-up window. So if I click on any given point, the pop-up window will be in the same location. So it will not be dynamic, moving over and over again. So we make it docked. That's why this option is here, the docking option. So I'll dock pop-up, and then do I need to keep a pop-up open? No. So we don't need a pop-up kept open. So I'll click on legend so that it shows the specific items. We need a scale bar. We need to preserve extent. If you want to access your map easily or points easily, you can have the search feature enabled. If you want to show the current location, if you want it to geolocate you, you can use the locate me option. So if I click on that and enable it, you should be able to tell where I am. So if I go to the map and click on geolocation, geolocate me, it will bring me to RCMRD. So it's a feature that you can use to locate yourself if need be. And then once I'm done, I'll click on save. So I'll click on save. So it's already labeled RCOE web map. Can just, so I can give it a title here. So protected and conserved areas. Protected and conserved areas. Areas in Eastern So the button has text limit. So what I'll do, I'll simply type ESA, protected and conserved areas. So it doesn't allow a certain number of characters. So I'll type PCS. So PCS stands for protected and conserved areas, for those who are joining us for the first time. Now, if you also need this map to be accompanied by text, you can still choose the option of either float right, float left, or if you need to do some edits on your map, you click on edit. So these are display options. If you want it to be small, you click on small. If you want it to be a full screen, you click on full screen. If you want it to be minimalized or medium, you click on medium. So depending on what you want to see, you can always choose the display options. So I'll edit my map so that it doesn't locate me. I don't need it to show where I am. So I'll just click on current location. I want it to display the protected areas, not my location. So I'll click on that. So if I want to search, I click on search, and then when I go back, you can still save, you can still edit this map in ArcGIS if you feel it's not what you wanted, so that it becomes the map that you want to display to your users. So I'll zoom out. So when I zoom out, it now brings the protected and conserved areas within the Eastern and Southern Africa. You can pan, you can zoom, you can click on the protected area, and then your pop-ups will appear on your screen. So that's on how you can be able to add your web map already on your folder or in your ArcGIS platform. So the next thing you're going to show you is how you can be able to add a table or a chart. So these basic elements, data visualization elements, one, you can have the map. They are almost similar to what we are discussing in dashboards. Besides telling your story, you can also have some analytical features that will now summarize what you want to communicate. So if you want to tell us that in 2010, the total number of animals within Nairobi National Park were 2,000, and then in 2025, the total animals are 1,000, you can always have that section catered for you using infographic. You can also have a chart which now has a line, a bar graph, or a pie chart. So you can explore that later. So I'll go to the procedure of adding an express map or a tour map. So let me add a separator. I'll add a tour map. So a tour map, you can either start from scratch, you can upload photos, or you can start with a feature layer. A feature layer, remember we talked about, this is a self-updating layer that you can share with your users so that they can be able to interact with it, create web maps, and that web map feeds into your dashboard or any other item that you're developing within the GIS environment. So since we don't have any of this, or if we have, but we want to start from scratch, we want to build a one point at a time. So this is media focused, this is map focused. So we have the list and the grid. So we are going to use the media focused option, or you can use the map focused option. So here we shall be able to have, if you click on a specific location, you have a brief description, and then we have an image or anything to tell about that point. So you'll be able to click on point one as you move to the other point. So let me check. Let's use the map focused. So this is point 1. So point 1, let's move here. I'll have my map. Let me come here. Let me zoom it to Kenya. Nairobi. So this is Nairobi National Park as it is on the map. So I'll click on point 1. Now my point 1, I will rename it. So I'll have to either have it in descending order or ascending order, depending on your preference. So my point 1, I go to options, change layout. If I want to change from map focus to media focused, you can still change it from there. So my point 1, I'll have to add it as a 2D map or a 3D map. Then you choose the base map. Let me use OpenStreet if it's available. Okay. Not available, I use the imagery option. So also make sure when you are choosing the right base map, you choose a base map that will not be requiring the user to have a lot of internet issues. So make sure you choose a lighter base map. That's why you are going for the option of OpenStreet, because it's always light and it can load even on a slower internet. So I'll still go with this. Let's hope it's very light. So initial zoom level, we make it automatic, and then map configuration, we don't touch anything there. But if you want to have for smaller screens, you can be able to show it there, and then I'll be able to save. So that's my point 1. I can now come and add a title here for this point. So let me call it Nairobi National Park. This is Nairobi National Park. Git. So I'll add a video or a photo. So let me come and add a video or a photo. So I'll select the gate, the entrance. So then I write a description. So the description will be reception and payment. Reception and payment. And then once I'm done, so depending on the location of my map, so let's assume the entrance point is here. So I'll come and pick this add location. So once I click on add location, it will give me an icon where I can now go and add a point. So I'm assuming our starting point is here. So when you come from Mombasa Road, you join Langata Road. So you go to Nairobi National Park via Langata Road. So you identify where Langata Road is for those who are conversant with Nairobi. But for those who are not conversant with Nairobi, we shall pick a random point. So let's assume this is our entry, this is our gate. Then use map to our settings automatic, and then you click on save. So that is our first point. So if you're doing a story map on, let's say, marathon or any race activity, you can be able to create a tour map on where they'll start, the cooling point, and the finish line. So that's our starting point. Then if you want to add another point, you click on plus. So the plus will be the ivory burning site, or whichever we shall call it. Ivory burning site. So this is the site that the late President Moi burned all the ivory that had been acquired through illegal poaching to discourage the illegal poaching within our national parks. Is still there, so that's one of the sites that you can be able to add. So burning point. Oh, ivory. Discourage illegal poaching. Or let's just say poaching, because in Kenya we don't have legal or illegal poaching. Maybe other countries might be having game hunting or any other poaching activities, but in Kenya we don't encourage poaching. So there you will agree with us. So I'll go and check on my website, Ivory Burning Site, Nairobi National Park. Ivory burning site and picnic area photos. So I'll just come and check. So to demonstrate that, I'll pick this one because we want to show it burning. So I'll select this image, save it on my local machine. It's a JPEG, and then click save. So what I'll do, I'll browse my file and then select my specific photo. Then once I'm done, so let's say it's the second point, just from the entrance. So I'll maybe put it here and then click on save. So you're able to guide someone, even a tourist who has not been to Nairobi National Park, that if you, from the gate, that's the first point you'll go to the national park. Then the next point you'll meet is the ivory burning site. And then you can add a third point. So this third point will be watering point. So when you need to see some crocodiles and hippos, you normally go to where we have water. So you'll be directed to that point through the map. So this is watering point. In case you need to view crocodiles and hippos, or let's just say we call them aquatic animals. So you might have even frogs at the watering points, even snakes, aquatic animals. And then you have a nice photo of aquatic animals. So let's say crocodiles. Can come and say, I want this. So let me save. So I'll call it crocs. Then I'll select the right image, this one. Once I'm done, I'll now show the user where specifically do you have the watering point, so that they don't waste time going through the park looking for the watering point. Maybe their interest is just to see some hippos. They are not interested in lions or even giraffes. Now I'll add the last part. Maybe you want to show the user where they can now go and have their lunch. So I'll just say the most famous point is the Maasai Lodge. So I'll come and say Maasai Lodge. So Maasai Lodge, lunch and refreshments. So I'll then go back to my online platform source, then check where we have Maasai Lodge, the specific image for Maasai Lodge. Remember, I also use some images that will attract the user. So these are some of the sample photos for Maasai Lodge. I'll click on images, and then I'll choose the best image or the image that you feel will attract the tourist. So even though it has been filtered a lot, but just use whatever image that you feel is okay and is appealing to the eyes of the tourist. I'll click on browse. then select my image. So that's Masai Lodge. So lunch, let me just say food and accommodation, because it's also an accommodation facility. So remember, you can add as many points as possible, depending on what you want to tell the user. So if I click on point 1, I'll be taken through the gate. Point 2, I'll go to the ivory site. Point 3, I'll go to the watering point. And then lastly, I'll go to point 4. So point 4, I'll click on add and then navigate to where Masai Lodge is. So Masai Lodge is here. Masai Lodge Road. Let me assume it's at the edge of the park. So that's where our Masai Lodge is. So this is a tour map. You can add as many points as possible, depending on the context that you want to communicate. Remember, you can also change this base map. You can always edit your base map. Go to edit. We went through the process. You choose the right image. So if you want an imagery, you say imagery. So you can be able to see as it is. But remember, the disclaimer is that if you are sharing this map, remember there are countries where we have slow internet or even no internet at all. So when you are choosing your right base map, choose the lighter base map, unless you're sure of your target users. So if you go to Ivory burning site, you can even zoom to see what is in that location. So that's how you can be able to add your tour map. We have added two maps, the web map and the tour map. So the other thing we want to add is we call it a swipe. The swipe action enables you to compare and contrast between two scenarios or two events. So for example, you want to have an imaginary image of Nairobi in 1994 or 2010, and the same image of Nairobi National Park in 2025. So I'll go to swipe. So if I go to swipe, you will be asked to input two media. The first media is the first epoch, the first time, and then the last or the final media. So you'll have to choose you can either generate a map. If you're showing land cover land use changes within Nairobi National Park, you can have the first land cover land use map here and the latest land cover land use map here, so that now someone can be able to show what has changed within the Nairobi National Park. And that's very significant because it can be used for preliminary policy or decision-making processes. So let me add a separator here so that it shows it's a different section. And then I'll add a button to show this is changes in Nairobi National Park. So you can abbreviate it as Nairobi National Park. So I'll choose the first image. So I'll just choose random images. It's not the actual image, but you can always have two images for comparison purposes. So for our practical today, we'll use imaginary or dummy images. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'll just choose a sample image. So let's say this is this still Masai Lodge. I'll take the first image here. And then image 1. And then I'll choose the second image, image 2. So remember, you have two images. So these are for static images. Remember what I said, you can also have your maps. if you produce land cover or any map that you want to show, let's say urban sprawl monitoring, you can have one image for a certain year and then another image here for the current year. So it's not that I'm using these images as absolute or as the accurate images. So make sure you have the right information that you want to pass when using the swipe action. So you have to be careful and you have to know what you want to pass across. So for my case, I'm just using the demo images because I don't have specific maps that I want to communicate to you. So I'll have the first image here and then the second image here. Or you can have an image of Nairobi during daytime or even an image of Nairobi at night so that people can be able to compare and contrast what is happening during the day and what is happening during the night. So that's how you use the swipe option. These are not the actual images, these are demonstration images. So in your work or in your assignment, you'll be required to have two images that compare explicitly. Don't use these images. So use images that will portray your actual research or your actual study. Then I'll just come and say a comparison of NNP during the day and during the night. Or if you are doing land cover land use processing, you can have land cover land use 2010, land cover land use 2025, or urban growth 2025, urban growth 2015. So remember, swipe is used when you're comparing two items, similar items. So from swipe, I think we've added majority of the components. Now we can just go and add a video. So to add a video, you select an option for the video. So I'll add another separator here. Come and add a video. I'll add a video. Come back here. So I'll just say, so you also don't choose a video that's heavy. So let me choose a YouTube link. So to choose my YouTube link, I'll go to add COE, YouTube account here. Go to videos. And then I'll choose what you're calling the Storymaps. So there's a link for Storymaps. I'll copy. I'll paste it here and then add. But if you have a short clip or a reel, you can be able to put it there. Remember to have the right size. So don't choose a video that's very heavy. Just choose a light video, or you can upload your videos on YouTube and then use it as a hyperlink here. So it comes with its caption. So if you need to caption it further, you can still edit your caption. So from there, you can be able to say you've added majority of the components. So what you need to do now is to add credits. So you've gone through on how you can be able to add text, you can be able to add an image, you can be able to add a video, you can be able to utilize a swipe icon or a swipe capability. You can be able to add an express map or a tour map, and then you can be able to add your web map. So that's much we have covered. So you can still go and add a chart from your data sets. You can add a table, or you can add an image gallery. So suppose you want to add an image gallery, a collection of images, you click on add gallery, image gallery, and then you browse all the images that you want to add to your gallery. So you can now come and select all the images. then you upload. So this will be Nairobi National Park in pictures. NNP in pictures. So this is a very important tool. It can be used for advocacy. So you can have the conservation story being told from point A to point Z using a story map, and you can be able to share it to the decision and policy makers so that they can be able to see what is happening and what conservation efforts are taking place within the protected area. Nairobi National Park in pictures. So you can change the ordering of these images here. You click on the options, then you can select which image you want to be the first one. So the gate should be the first one, and then you have the order as preferred by the author. Then the other thing, you can add an image by clicking on the plus icon. So you can also change the layout, say the full or medium. So depending on your preference. That's how you can be able to edit your photos. From there, make sure you come and add credits. So this is RCMRD, RCOE. Yes, sir. Then develop for yes. Products. Yes, for conservation. So a product of GIS for conservation training. So you can specify what you want to appear within the credit section, and then attribution. We can have the EU here. So you can have the EU. So depending on who are enabling your work, have the EU. You have C4 ICRAF. And then you have RCMRD, the host. RCMRD, yes. So you can have some attribution, and then content, contact us. RCOE at RCMRD. mrd.org. So that is on attribution. And then once your story is complete, so assuming you've done your story and you've input all the necessary elements of the story map, you can now come and say publish. But before you publish, make sure you preview. Make sure you preview. Undo history will reset if you preview. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes. Continue. So once you continue, you will now have a preview of what you've been doing, and you'll see a beautiful story map displaying here. So that's the story map that you've been able to build. Now, if this impresses you, you can also try to see how it will appear on a mobile phone. Suppose people are using the mobile phones, you can click here, and then on a tablet, and then on a desktop. So here we are previewing it as a full screen on the web. So you can still come and preview on the devices. You try to optimize your product on each and every PDA that someone might be using. So once you're done with the preview, you can now go and publish your web map. So I'll go back. So on the Nairobi National Park, you go back and then you come to publish option. But before you do that, you can still change the design of your story map. So if you don't love or don't like this theme, you can still go and change your theme. So how do you change your theme? You can just come and either click on the either of the theme and see how it goes or how it impresses you. If you don't like my theme, you can still choose your own theme. So I'll just click on slate. I'll click on ridgeline. I'll click on obsidian. So it gives you different themes based on your uh, preferred company branding guideline. So I'll go with the ridgeline. You can still use Mesa. Then you can brand your story map. So I'll include a logo. So my logo, I'll get it from RCMRD. So I'll input RCMRD logo. I'll copy one of the logos that we have here and save it. So RCMRD. So on the RCMRD, I'll come and upload my logo. So here it is. So it will appear here on the Nairobi National Park. Then once I've done my logo, I'll come and put my link. If someone clicks on my logo, they should be able to either visit my external website or my other work that I've done. So you can still link that logo to your dashboard. You can link it to any of the external works that you want people to access. So for my case, I'll link it to RCMRD. I'll click here. And then, so if someone clicks on this logo, they should be able to access my organizational web page. I'll click on close, and then I'll go on the final step, publish. So if you publish any item, even on the access that we're going to give you, you make sure you make it public. You don't keep it to yourself. Make sure you keep it to public. Do you want to allow duplication? Yes, someone else might be interested to use your template or use your story map. But if you don't want some people to duplicate your story map, then you can uncheck this option. Some may tamper with your work. They might misreport, they might do a wrong thing. If you want to share with groups, you can click on share with groups. So I'll have the data sharing for everyone group who are in this training. And then once I'm done, I'll click on publish. So it will check for issues before it publicizes my story map. Now, once you publish your story map, you can either view the published story. Let me right click and view. And then I can be able to edit. I can go back to my projects. Then for our case, we need to share. For your assignment, you'll be required to share your story map. So what you'll do, you'll come to the option of copy link. If you want to share it on Facebook, X, LinkedIn, that's your preference. Or you can even scan with your phone to open this story map. So for our case, we can share this link. Maybe you want to share it with your team. You can copy it and share it via email. You can embed it in your Facebook, X, or even LinkedIn. So that's how you can be able to share your story to others so that they can view and appreciate your work. So that said and done, thank you for listening. I welcome some questions, comments, and other issues that may arise from the session. So welcome. We invite question and answer session. So you'll be asked to unmute so that you ask your question. So we have 10 minutes, a maximum of 10 minutes for question and answer. So kindly unmute yourself, Ibrahim, so that you ask your question.
Good morning, Fadamula.
Good morning.
Thank you. Just allow me to refer to you by your second name. Sorry, I haven't gotten of you very well about your first name. So mine is just to say thank you for this training. And then I only have one question and two concerns. The first concern is that you are a bit quick in your training, sorry to say, because sometimes even I do believe people have different gadgets. So my gadget could be a bit slow. So sometimes just like try to be slow. And then the second concern is that this now generally for the RCOE community.
Yes.
I've been able to observe that when people post questions on the communities, they are not being addressed. Maybe you could just pass a word for us there. And then, sorry, allow me to remember the question will come back. Let me allow the second person to go on. I've forgotten the question, sorry.
Okay, that's fine. So Ibrahim, thank you for the comments. So for the first one, we are sorry, we might be a bit quick, but you try to slow down whenever asked. So, but for our purposes, these sessions have been recorded. Once the session is done, they'll be uploaded later on YouTube, and you can be able to refer to our recordings. And even for the assignment, you can be able to go back to our recordings and get some information so that you can be able to grasp everything. For the community, we are working on it. We shall be responding to your questions. We apologize. We have a multitude of questions and concerns, but we try addressing them one by one. So thank you so much. Stay tuned for the next module.
Yeah,
yes.
I've just thank you. I've just remembered the question. The question is during this course, at what point will we be using the ArcGIS Pro? Because like today I'm at work and then I carried my machine, thinking that just maybe if you could be knowing. Thank you so much. Back to you, Father Mula.
Thank you, Ibrahim. So the ArcGIS Pro will start in module 3, and from after I'm done, module 3 will start immediately. So in case there's a practical, you'll be able to start using ArcGIS Pro. Over to you. Who else? Teddy, you can ask your questions. So we have 8 minutes remaining.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Isaac.
Yes.
Maybe maybe you can just pardon how to add a web map on your story map.
Okay. You. So to add a story, a web map on my story map, what I'll do, you'll go back to your story map here. So let me click on edit. I'm still sharing my screen. So I'll click on edit story. Once I edit story, I'll come and add my web map. So let me click here on add. And then once I'm on add, you click on map. So remember to choose the map option. So once you choose a map option, you'll now go and select your specific or your desired web map that you want to be displayed in your story map. I hope that's clear, Teddy.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next question is from so let's get a question from Bravin. Bravin, you can unmute yourself so that you ask your question. We have 5 minutes. Okay, if Bravin is not here, Betty, Linda, you can ask your questions.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I hope you can hear me. Maybe just a confirmation.
Yes, I can hear you.
So I have a few questions. The first one, I didn't see us saving this. We just gave it the title, but there was no option of saving, and then we just published it. I wanted
Okay.
to find out whether we do save or we don't for this one. But also, I'm actually being disturbed about publishing this as public. I think starting from the start, we are publishing most of this. When we are sharing, we say public. What if I want to just share with my organization? I want only a few people to have access to this, but not the entire public, in case what I'm doing is private. And then another one is about the ArcGIS Pro link. Do we also need to use this very same link because for this ArcGIS Online they told us to use for the organization, for RMCRD, even if we have our private whatever. So for this ArcGIS Pro, if I already have my link, do I still have to access this? And then you said that we are going to have assignment for the story map, but I think in module 2 we are having the quizzes. It's really not practical. It's just answering those like it's not practical. So are we having another one, or it's just this? And then the other questions I'm having are for the previous presentations. I don't know whether I have to ask now, or for time I can just post in the community. Just some guidance there.
Okay. So the first question is on saving. So the ESRI have made it to autosave. So you don't need to click anywhere save. So once you make any change, it's normally saved automatically, and you can still undo or redo whatever you had done. So on saving, you don't need to worry. It saves automatically, and that's why you didn't see us struggling to click on save. We only directly went to publishing. Number 2, we talked about publishing in our previous classes. So there are 3 options. There are 4 exactly. So the first option is private, where you want this item to be owned by you alone. So if you share this item to the other person, you have to provide your credentials for someone to be able to access your item or product. So it only belongs to you. The other option is organizational sharing. This year now you have a team of you are just experts or users within your organization. So you want to share your item with only those people that have your organizational account. So that's the option 2. So if you need to keep it within your organization, let's say RCMRD, I limit it only to those people within RCMRD domain. That's option 2. Option 3, suppose you're doing a public work. So remember, anything that you're sharing publicly is something that you've already generalized. You've removed any credentials that are confidential or private, so that you don't get yourself in data privacy issues. So if some work is being done for the public interest, that's when you can be able to share it as a public product. Then the last option is group sharing. So group sharing, let's say, like for example, we are in module 3, module 2, module 1, and module 4. If I only want this story map to be visible to only those people who are doing module 2, then I'll have to get all the accounts for the participants in module 2 and share my story map to only those specific people within that group. But if I also want to share with group 1, then I'll also have to create another group for group 1. So specifically, I'll share to a specific group with a specific number of people or identified people in that group. So those are the 4 options that you can use to share your data. Now, it depends on the objective of your work. So if you want to pass something across to the public, then you share it is public. And then when you're sharing anything public, remember, do not include anything private and confidential. Then on question 3, ArcGIS Pro link. So initially we had decided we have 2 accounts, 2 user roles. We had the creator and the creator and the professional pro. So for the ArcGIS Online, we were using it allows you to use the basic licenses, which we shared to all of you. But for the ArcGIS Pro, we have elevated all of you to Professional Plus, which is now advanced license. Now with that advanced, you'll be able to now log into ArcGIS Pro and utilize it for our exercises. Remember, do not use your organizational account or your private account. Why? Because this training is credit intensive. When you are purchasing ArcGIS online licenses, you are normally assigned credits. So if you start using your own account or your organizational account, you will consume credits, which is very expensive. So we've partnered with ESRI. They provided us with credits that are specifically to be used for this training. That's why we encourage you and request you to use our own credit and our own ArcGIS Pro or ArcGIS Online accounts that we provided to you. So, and then on the previous PPTs, we kindly post it on the community now so that you address it. We'll be able to follow up. Then on the quizzes, if you check on the e-learning platform, we had quizzes, but as time we have already uploaded the dashboards practical. You are supposed to submit your practical, and then after this session, we are going to upload the practical for the story maps. So be checking on the e-learning platform. We have uploaded the dashboards practical already, and you're going to upload the story maps as soon as possible or as soon as this session ends. Thank you, and see you in the next module 3. So we take the last question from Aota, where? So the rest, you can be able to interact with us on our community. You can ask us on LinkedIn, or you can follow us on X, Facebook. We are also there. We are on Instagram. You can also reach out to us on TikTok. So whichever platform you choose, ask your question. We'll be able to address it. And kindly mention the session that you'd like us to focus on. So over to you, Aota. If Aota is not here, we welcome Simon Tembo as our last person to ask the question. So Simon, unmute yourself. Okay, seems you are okay. So the question and answer session ends right now. So after this, we are going to take a 10-minute break. So we resume at 11:50 for introduction to module 3. So thank you so much for your attendance. Thank you so much for your attention and cooperation. Yes.
Isaac, sorry. I think maybe my sets were the one which were not showing. No, I still have got a problem on the schema, whereby yes, I don't have the other options like the date and like. So in this case, I'm not able to proceed to the other sessions. And if you check on these sessions, they have some deadlines that they will close out. So I don't know how can I be helped, but otherwise I can't move to the next sessions.
Okay,
I've checked on the.
Yes, I've seen I saw your question and I forwarded it to the right relevant team. So the GIS team is handling your matter and they'll be able to respond to it soonest.
Thank you.
Okay, so we will check email Simon Tembo.
Yes.
So
yes,
we'll
please.
respond to you shortly. So just stay put, we'll address it. Thank you.
Regards.
Yeah, so thank you so much. See you in the next session. Bye-bye. Enjoy your break. We have 10 minutes break. So at 11:50, we start the next session.